I'm Steve Rogers from Ormond Beach, Florida, where I share a dwelling and life with my beautiful and very talented wife, Janet Rogers. This demonstration that you're about to see is about my abstract work, and there'll be some introduction by way of design and what to do with it, but the bulk of the demo is actually going to be painting. And what I'd like you to take away from this is the pure joy of intuitive abstract painting. That joy sometimes manifests itself in a kind of a struggle, but let's think of it more as a conversation between artist and painting. And I know how this demonstration goes because I've already done it, and actually I'm still sort of messing around with it. It is more of a conversation where the painting does a lot more of the talking than the artist does. You guys may know me from my boat painting kind of career. And if you go back a real long distance, you may know me from some of the figurative things that I did. But what we're concerned with today is abstract painting. And welcome to the demonstration, and I'll see you in a few minutes. So usually I'm used to painting, talking, chewing gum at the same time. In this case, I'm narrating this because it's been done and it's speeded up. So you're seeing the preparation. This is toning the paper with Quin Gold and maybe a little bit of quinacridone burnt orange and a little bit of yellow at some point, and spritzing it with some alcohol, and I'm going back and forth. Along with that, I took the opportunity to put up some of the elements of design, which will be the thing that we're working with, the materials, and then I'm also putting up now the design principles, which include unity, conflict, dominance, repetition, alternation, balance, harmony, and gradation. And these will all come into play. With intuitive painting, these things, I think, the more familiar you are with them, the less you have to think about it, the more this is kind of subconscious, ingrained into your fabric. That's really where this functions best. And you'll see me struggling here as I'm without really a foundation. I think I'll try and throw up an image of what I usually use as a starting off point, which is some geological stuff from Acadia National Park or some of our journeys in Europe. And that gives me a place to sort of leap off from and have a little foundation. And my iPad kind of went wonky, and I had the color out and I was ready to go, and so I just jumped right in, and maybe I should have thought twice about doing that. What I'm doing now is an awful lot of things that really in the ultimate end of the painting are not going to be apparent, but I thought this video should be about that whole process, that whole struggle of not the kind of quick demo that you're used to seeing where the artist has to, the instructor has to get it all done in 40 minutes or a half hour, an hour, or 2 hours. This is over the course of days, and it's more the way I would really work. And you know, sometimes things work out quickly, other times they don't work out at all. So this is the joyful struggle that you go through when you're trying to paint an abstract intuitively. Materials, the brushes really don't matter too much. I've toned the canvas with a 2-inch flat, and now I'm working with about a 1-inch flat. It's I couldn't even read what it was. It's so covered with paint. And that doesn't matter. It's a fairly soft brush. That one image that you saw that won the Best of Show at Florida a few years ago was done in a much drier style, and I used an old an old Winsor Newton Academy student grade nylon, white nylon brush, and basically scrubbed it on. So there's many different approaches. I know that Florida Watercolor they encouraged us not to mention brand names and things like that. And I believe with watercolor, even there, it's fairly important as to which pigment you're using and what manufacturer it is, because things vary so much from one manufacturer to another. The names can be the same, but the resulting pigment can be entirely different. In this case, these are golden fluid acrylics, and I just really don't know of a great alternative to that. And I'll try and I'll put up the colors I'm using here, and also if you email me at the address that will be visible at some point in this, and also at the end, which is watercolorsbyrogers.com, steve@watercolorsbyrogers.com. I will give you a list of what these colors, the general ones that I use, are, and where they're available. Later on in the video, I'll be using Caran watercolor pencils. These are museum aquarelle pencils, and Neocolor 2 watercolor crayons. These are also Caran. I've spent probably several $1,000s worth of experimenting with various brands, and a lot of them work out all right. In other cases, I've gotten stuff that just flat out doesn't work. So I'll save you the cost of doing that. Also, I've got these gigantic sets of color, and I found I only use a handful of the pigmented pencils and crayons. So again, I'll post that, or I'll email you back a link to where you can find out what I'm using. Generally, I'll just refer people to like Cheap Joe's or something, and have you, maybe even give you an indication of the numbers to look up for if I was doing watercolors. In the case of these fluid acrylics and the Caran d'Ache pencils, you really have to go to Blick's, you have to go to Jerry's, you have to go to Cheap Joe's. Things are just not always available either individually. I know some of the pencils are only available in sets. There is a set of, I'm assuming that a lot of you people are not familiar with painting this way. You're maybe more transparent watercolor like I did for most of my life. And so I think a little introductory set of there's a 10-pack, I believe, of the golden fluid acrylics. There may be 1 ounce each, or 2 ounces, maybe 1 ounce each. And that's a economical way to get involved with this and see if you like what you're doing. And again, you don't have to buy. I love color, and so I've bought these gigantic sets of 120 or 200 and some pencils or crayons, and again, I use very little of them. You're seeing here where I'm just working to get to some sort of a result, and it's not going to be a final result. And I keep going into it, and this is what you do. I think there's at some point you hope that an underlying sense of design is going to kick in. I know I felt the paint was a little thin up at the top. I was trying to get some of that underlying color, the warm color from the Quin Gold to come through. But I think it with acrylics, and I haven't painted in a while. I've been messing around with all this online, trying to figure out how to zoom and how to YouTube and how to do the video editing, and so this painting is like about the first one I've done in maybe a month and a half. So you know, I'm sort of struggling a little bit, but I enjoy the struggle. I think the best paintings I've ever done, including the representational paintings, are the ones that have been a journey that involves a struggle, and not something that you know, like you hear people say, "Oh, my best painting was the one that painted itself," and that certainly is not the case with some of my more successful paintings. I'm thinking probably here. I'm trying not to think. I'm listening to Beatles music, which is not what I do when I'm painting representational things. I'm trying to concentrate on what I'm doing. Here I'm trying to basically turn off my left brain, so I'm just functioning on my right brain as much as possible. I can see, you know, I'm thinking warm and cool. I'm trying to adjust my values so that probably a lot of these paintings are going to end up predominantly mid-value, but you can see I'm introducing some, well, light and mid-value, but I'm putting some whites and some darks in as well. Looks like we've got something where I didn't edit it exactly the way I should have, so this is probably not, well, maybe it'll show up. Anyway, you can see what I have done here. At some point I have flipped the painting entirely, which is part of my process, so that what was once right side up is now upside down, and that's again part of the process. Oftentimes just a part of the painting will work. In some cases, well, in a lot of cases, none of the painting is going to work, or maybe it'll end up as something that's useful later on to demonstrate color or value, or maybe it'll end up as a collage. I'm not really into that at this point, but I'm maybe thinking about doing some of that. Right now I'm just sort of going, you can see I don't really have any pigment. Was trying to sort of smush some of those colors so that they weren't so drippy in some areas. Here I'm back into it, just really pressing the undo button and hitting it with a lot of cool color, a lot of blues, variety. I'm thinking in terms of gradation, going from one blue to another blue, a lighter blue to a darker blue, more of a teal, and grading it to more of an ultramarine. Now I'm thinking in terms of value. I'm hitting it with some whites because I'm thinking that I want a proportion of light and dark and mid-value that's going to be interesting. So what you really need to do in value and color and line and texture and shape is to have variety, but to have something dominant and something subordinate, and something that's dominant, and that's really the key to creating a successful painting. So the paintings that are going to win awards, are going to get attention, are the ones that are clearly warm, clearly cool, clearly light or dark, that have a real dominant feeling to them. Repetition is going to be, ultimately in this painting, is going to be very important. And so you really, like I said, I'm trying, and as I'm doing this, I'm trying not to think about it, but I know that that's playing around in the back of my head someplace that's working out here. If you're a novice painter, this is going to be a little more difficult to pull off. Anyway, you'll sort of see there's some stuff that's pretty ugly going down in the lower left-hand corner. And, you know, perhaps if there was some other color near it, ugly can become beautiful. But in this case, I think the next version of this, I think, is an attempt to get rid of that. And it's that kind of brown-looking, muddy thing down there. There's good mud and bad mud, in particular in transparent watercolor, but apparently I'm capable of creating it with the acrylics as well. I'm liking what's going on here with the color. More interesting. I think one of the things that was sort of playing in my head was something that maybe Ed Whitney said that Frank Webb was repeating, which is that this will come out later on in the process, but that violet and green love each other. And I just sort of, that was playing in my head at some point. Now, here I'm hitting some darks in there. Sometimes I'll put the dark in really early on in the painting, just to sort of force myself to deal with it. And if I'm thinking more about putting something, you know, having a kind of a preliminary plan that I know will get lost in the process, but you know, that's one way to approach this, is to do something that's dramatic, and then, okay, how do I deal with that? How do I make that work in the painting? Putting something maybe in the center, you know, and then trying to figure out how to compose the rest of the painting accordingly. Okay, so we're going, all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but I'm gradually, this is turning into a cool painting with the dominant color temperature is going to be cool, and the subordinate temperature is going to be warm. That's for a while, and as we get back into to the painting, you'll see what happens. That maybe we could leave the painting alone at some point, and as it flashes up that maybe I've put a mat and frame on it and isolated the painting, that's a comfortable place to stop the painting process and basically put a fork in it and say I'm finished, or step away from the canvas, and yet the painting sometimes just calls back to you. And in the course of doing this, and this can go over the course of, you know, many weeks even, not that I'm painting on it all the time, but it may sit around for a while. And I've framed paintings and unframed them and signed them and photographed them and gotten back in, and damn if they don't, if there's no relationship to what the painting was when I thought it was finished. So I think I'm semi-deliberately trying to do that in this case, just to show that process that you can't really do in a regular demo, because, you know, people expect you know, a little wow factor, and they expect it to be done in a orderly period of time. And that's, you know, that's deceptive, because then people feel like, well, that's the way paintings have to be done. And really, a good painting. Well, look at the Mona Lisa, for God's sakes. I think Leonardo painted that for a good part of his life. Kept it with him, kept it in his bedroom, and worked on it until probably very near the end of his life. So, and that came out all right. Hey. Okay, so here we're going in again, that kind of trying to work the violet, cool violets. You know, some of these colors can be a cool or a warm, independently of you know, another factor, but within a given color there can be warm and cool, and so sometimes grading color from warm to cool, even if it's in the same color family, the same hue, is a great way to move the eye around. With painting is a static medium. It's not like an opera. It's not like a movie or a book. or a piece of music where the author, the composer, has a time element involved and is able to move the viewer or the reader around. In a painting, it's right in front of you. So the more movement you can create in the painting with gradation, with alternation, with any kind of movement, repetition of elements that maybe have a gradation in them. Any of that moves the viewer around, it creates an interest in your painting and keeps the viewer interested. And so here maybe I should be talking a little bit about the process. I am trying to introduce some linear quality here. I'm using a rigger brush, the web liner, and that's softening edges, it's creating a transition, putting in some color that, at least at this point in the painting, I'll expect to be interesting. They're small shapes. We're playing big shapes against small shapes, hard edge shapes against soft edge shapes, texture. The texture is, and here I'm thinking, hey, this looks pretty good. I think I've taken out some color at this point. Well, maybe I got ahead of the game. Yeah, here, I'm deciding that maybe that underlying warm color that is a result of the first initial toning of the canvas with the quinacridone gold. I'm trying to have some of that come through. So I'm using alcohol to begin to lift the acrylic paint. And that's what's going on now in the video. And I think that's introducing a little warm. It's introducing a little softness to play off against some of the hard edge stuff that's right around that. We'll see how well that works out. Okay, I'm still after it. Bounty towels. I'll mention that product name. That Janet and I both agree that Bounty towels are the very best. So we're still using the rubbing alcohol here. Okay. I like the warm coming down into the lower part of the painting. We can't see all of it here. But I think I'm getting to the point where maybe I'm going to get back into it with after it's dried. Occasionally I've used a hair dryer or something, or allowed it to dry, and gone back in after that, and that won't really show up in the video, but that's sometimes you just have to let it dry, especially in watercolor, and certainly in acrylics as well. One of the advantages of acrylic over oil is that there is that you can get things dry in a hurry, and with oil you can't really do that too easily. Okay, so I'm putting out some new color. Looks like I'm going to go in with some dark here. And we'll see how long that lasts in here. Looks like a smaller brush that I'm using. Again, probably a ½ inch. Same kind of a soft brush. At some point I'm going to be making some shapes that'll repeat through here. I'm not sure I'm into that at this point yet. Just getting some dark value in. Now, of course, this is all speeded up. I think I slow down a little bit toward the end when I'm back into the painting. But for this point now, it's running a lot faster. I think Steve Rogers is the alter ego for Captain America. I'm not really familiar with that, but This is more like the speeding bullet Superman kind of a thing. If I could paint this fast, I might actually survive financially. Okay, so we're into the alcohol again. So you can see it can almost be a tedious process, except you're really into it and almost unaware of time. Okay, so I'm beginning to make some marks, some circular, some dots. You can see I'm larger to smaller, trying to think in terms of, not think, but react to the gradation of size, big to small, sort of maintaining the same dark value, which is not necessarily what you want to do, but you know, go figure. I think it's interesting to see, you know, besides the flashy, you know, drippy stuff, that there's a lot of careful work that goes into finishing a piece like this. Okay, I'm into, these are the Caran water-soluble aquarelle, museum quality aquarelle. Again, I've used very few of these colors and I've got thousands of them. I'll try and make some sort of a list available for you guys. If you want to email me, I'll send you a link for that. Let's see what we're up to here. Again, maybe some of this isn't quite visible, but and you'll see one of the great advantages of using the pencils and the crayons is, and you'll be seeing this shortly, is if you don't like what you did, you can be real casual with it. You can be very intuitive and scribble something in. And if it doesn't look good, you don't have to live with it. You can just take a little water, because the acrylic is dried underneath, and wipe it out and start over again. You can go into these, you can use these, both the crayons and the pencils, dry on paper. That's kind of what I'm doing here maybe. You can use it, you can wet the area that you're going to go into, introduce some of that with water and go into it, and it will soften. You can put down the dry pencil or crayon and spritz it maybe, and it will bleed. The other thing, you can dip these in water and they behave just like pigment at that point, and you can put them on wet, almost like you're painting with them. So a lot of variety, and again, in all those cases, if you don't like what you got, you can press the undo button with it and just wipe it out with some water. So some of these lines will be consistent with the finished painting, and others are not going to be there at all. They'll be covered over at some point in the process, which may be coming up pretty soon, well, in a while. Again, here I'm wiping out. I hope you guys can see this. It's not as clear. I'm looking at it on a really small screen as I'm doing the editing with this, but I hope that you'll be able to see what's going on with some of that, because it's really important. Okay, here I'm using the Neocolor 2 crayons, and I'm putting in some dots. This is repetition. This is what we're trying to get, a repetition of some element in the painting, a repetition of dots. You notice I used those dark dots before. Now I'm coming in with some colored dots, and I'm using the, instead of painting them in, I'm using the crayon to put them in. I know ultimately a lot of this is going to get wiped out, but at this point I'm treating this whole painting as like I'm really painting it to have whatever I'm doing exist in the painting, but clearly that's not the case, and I'm aware of that. But but I'm not being casual when I'm doing this. I'm being very not structured, but I'm being careful. I'm thinking about this as the finished product. And yet, if I'm not happy with it, or if in this case, I also, I thought, gee, this is going to turn out pretty soon as a decent painting. I think my wife Janet was happy with it at this point. You guys need to really see, here's the painting, the finished, at this point, what you would think of as a finished painting. Maybe it looks better as a square. Certainly the relationship. Okay, but here I'm back there. I'm back messing with it, and okay. Maybe I've done a little bit at this point. I'll have to look at the editing. See if I've lost some of it, but it got kind of tedious anyway. So here I'm thinking you guys need to see a little more pizzazz, a little more interest, and so I've basically, the top of the painting has remained pretty much consistent, but gotten in there with some warm. I'm basically turning this from a cool painting into a warm painting. So those darks, I've gotten back in there. Well, I've done a lot here, so maybe I need to stop and think of what's going on. My small amount of the Caran pencils and crayons, and hey, there I'm going for some of the big boxes. I'll maybe find a couple in there that are going to be perfect, but who knows? Here we go. This is again mark making, softening edges using those crayons and pencils. That is a significant mark. Those ovals, I've softened part of it. There's another one. That's repeating that shape that begins to repeat throughout the painting. You can see it down in the negative sections down in the lower part. I'm going to repaint some of that and bring those up. And they actually become kind of the theme of this painting. And you'll see that at the very end. Kind of reminds me of Ronda, Spain, where they had a lot of festivals the week or two that we were there, and polka dots are what the costume is that when people dress up in the traditional garb, the women, and also when you fly in, you can see almost the landscape looks polka dotty. So Ronda has this big gulch, big crevasse in it. I think it's where the Hemingway book is, where they threw the fascists off the bridge. Anyway, so okay, we're in there. We're going to crank in some real warm color over here, and we're in the final final stages of the painting. It's coming to life as far as warm, cool. We're overpowering that cool predominance in the painting and replacing it with warm. So go figure. What happens with the thing that's the subordinate part, the thing that is the least of the if it's warm, cool, if it's light, dark, the thing that is the minority is actually the part that's most attention getting. It's the thing that becomes special, that draws our attention. So you can see those blue teal rectangles going across. That becomes more special because it's more rare. In the case of when it was a predominantly cool painting, it was just the opposite effect. The things that were warm became the special parts and the more attention-getting actors in this play. So again, softening some edges, redefining some of those oval and round shapes. Mostly just putting in a little more pizzazz, a little more color. I hope that comes out in the video. We're getting there. I think we're getting down to the final stages. We'll see what happens. I hope all my fellow artists and watercolor aficionados out there enjoyed my demo. I wasn't kidding when I said there is a struggle that's involved with intuitive art. Sometimes it goes real easy, sometimes it can can go on for weeks, even to the point of putting things aside and pulling them out days later, letting them kind of sit in the oven for a while and see how you think about what you've done when you come to it with a fresh eye. I'm still working on this a little bit. I'm looking down at my painting right now and just putting the finishing touches on it, which I don't know if that's going to get in the video or not. I think it probably will, at least in the finished painting I show at the end. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Janet and I will be teaching video workshops, online demos for the duration of the COVID situation, as well as probably afterward. I think there'll be some opportunity, some people that can't get out, irrespective of a plague, still can't get out or afford to go to workshops where they have to live in a hotel and eat out. So I think that our experience with online workshops is going to pay dividends in the future. I hope that we'll actually be able to get together and have real workshops as well pretty soon. Look forward to seeing some of your work, seeing what you're doing with this. I hope that I give you enough information that you'll be able to find it useful and entertaining. Thank you. Steve Rogers, watercolorsbyrogers.com is our website, and it's steve@watercolorsbyrogers.com or janet@watercolorsbyrogers.com. And I'll be teaching both abstract and representational painting in the coming months and forever, I guess, as long as I last. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.